plan and we made a dream of it. That was 3 years ago. This month the Crisis Communication Team, CCT of the National Police in the Netherlands, exists 3 years. We have been in action around 30 times, and due to our way of working by making analysis and good advice and measuring if our strategy is working, we have made a difference in a lot of crises, big and small in the Netherlands. And well, this month we exist 3 years and we are a project, but there has been a decision that it's going to be an official unit within the Dutch police. So yes, my dream has come true. It's unique within the police because there was no crisis communication team at all. So we made it more unique, not only by building a national team, but in all the 11 units there are now special smaller teams, and they work in the same way as the national team. It's unique for the Dutch government, it's unique for the public sector, and we're doing a lot of lectures and information sessions and tell about the story of about CCT, and all the time we hear you have a unique team and you have a unique working process, because what we do is we gather the outside world on social media and traditional media, but all kinds of information that's available, and that we put that in our advice, and our working way is rather unique. So we see also police organizations in Germany and Belgium, France and the UK, they are watching what we are doing, and of course we try to help as possible. And you see that not only in the public sector but also in the private sector, the necessity of good crisis communication, the awareness is growing day by day. So, and in a crisis we are not only seen as the police but as the national government. So that's why we have to work together and try to have universal processes to handle the crisis. We have around 30 crises that we worked on, big and small. But the crisis with the most impact was, of course, the crash with the MH17, the plane that was shot down in Ukraine. For us it was a very intense way of working, and we learned a lot of it, and because it took a long period of time, we also learned that our crisis team that mostly works for a few days or mostly 10 days, and now we had to work for a longer time. So we said, well, we have to reorganize our system, because when a crisis is during longer, how are we going to deal with that kind of questions? But the impact was immense with this plane crash. Speaking of a success is always hard to say when you talk about a crisis, but due to our analysis, we were able to help the Prime Minister and the Dutch government to give them the proper feeling that was in society, and in that way you can say that we made a difference also during this crisis.
The best way for the police to use social media in crisis situations is to be at the platforms where the people are in that crisis. For instance, to find out what the needs of the public is, the questions, the rumors, and after that you have to interact with the people in order to answer their questions and fill their needs, maybe to kill rumors or to give information on that rumors. So you have to be on the platforms where the people are, for instance Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. As a police, corporate accounts, you have to be with corporate accounts, on that accounts, on the platforms, and you give the information the people want for the crisis. For instance, if there is a big fire or a big accident, people want information on that specific crisis, you have to give it to them. and interact and listen to the questions. The last years, with several social media platforms that are arising, such as Twitter or Instagram or Snapchat, we see that we have more in-depth information on what the people want. When I started working for the police, we started with our own communication strategy, and now we start with a context analysis. That means that we start our communication strategy with listening what the people want. So, in other words, we start outside instead of inside. Mm-hmm. So first we want to know what questions there are on the crisis. What do people want to know? Do they want to have information on where they have to go to, or where they don't have to go to? It helps us tackle a crisis. Another example of why we are so glad that there is social media nowadays is that we can tell the people what we are doing in that crisis. We can tell people the things they see. We give an explanation why there's a helicopter of the police hanging over their heads, or why we have forensic specialists going about the situation. Social media helps us to explain things better to the public on what the police is doing. One of the things I see in the future of crisis communications, social media and the police is that the public is becoming more and more a partner in crisis communications. I think together with the public we are going to tackle any crisis that we come across. The people will help each other and we help the people. So it's not only the police or the government who is responsible for a crisis. I think we're all going to be responsible for a crisis, and social media is going to help us with that.
Crisis communication at the police is here to stay. We are now a project. We exist now 3 years, but we are now building a new kind of team, an expertise center that will be a permanent part of the Dutch police, and a center where you can ask for rapid intervention teams, but also for slow burning crisis, best practice, etc. So we are here to stay, and we are also looking how we can give our expertise, our knowledge, not only to the police but also within other governmental organizations and also in the private sector. So that's what we're building. That's our plan for this year. So around the 1st of January 2016, this expertise center must be effect, and then the dream really comes true, of course.